Analysis paralysis. It's easy to get stuck in it, isn't it? I've been stuck in it at work, running numbers on every available design option before I was willing to share any of those options with my manager. I wanted to get all those numbers perfect before I showed them to anyone else. And when it came to writing a book, it's something that I had wanted to do for years, but for a long time never got around to doing. Life kept on getting in the way. Maybe you can relate. Or maybe you're like some of my clients when they came to me, like Sarah, not a real name, an engineer who was brimming with ideas but struggled with sharing them at work, let alone getting buy-in for them. Or Mary, who didn't love her job but couldn't find any better options, so she stayed where she was. Or there's Selena, who had always wanted to start her own business but had never made any progress on that dream. Or Terry, who kept hoping that if she just worked harder, her manager would notice what she was doing and give her a long overdue raise. We've all been in this spot before when we knew we wanted to move forward, but we didn't. So today, I'm going to share 3 things that are keeping you stuck in analysis paralysis and 4 questions you can ask yourself to kick you out of it. Before I do, I want to invite you to grab a free copy of my book, She Engineers. We're currently running a promotion where anyone with a US shipping address can get a signed physical copy of the book directly from me for free. You just pay a very small shipping fee. This is the practical career success guide for women in STEM that works even if you're the only woman in the room. Check out the link right below this video. The 3 things that keep you stuck in analysis paralysis are very consistent patterns that I have done myself in the past and that I have seen across multiple industries and disciplines of women in engineering, technology, and STEM that I coach. These are patterns that are holding you back from having a fulfilling career that you love. And the kicker is that we often rationalize why we should stay stuck in these patterns instead of doing something about it. Now, the reason we see these patterns to begin with is not at all your fault and is a combination of heavily ingrained societal stereotypes and the work cultures we work in, where it often feels like you can't bring all the pieces of yourself to your work environment. But although the reason we see these patterns is not at all your fault, how you choose to address them is entirely within your hands. So I'm going to share 3 traps that cause analysis paralysis that I see all the time and what you can do to break free of them. The 3 traps that keep you stuck in analysis paralysis are, first, equating your worth with productivity. This shows up if you tell yourself things like, I just need to sacrifice my sleep and my health one more time to meet this deadline. It shows up when you feel like you can never take a break, or that when you make it, you'll finally take that long-deserved vacation. It feels like being so stuck in your career identity that you think to yourself things like, oh, if I get laid off or I'm not working in the exact area I want right now, that means I'm not good enough for the entire field or the profession. The root cause of this trap is that you feel like you aren't worthy of success just as you are. What you've done is you've equated your productivity levels with your worth. And you've bought into this lie that if you just work harder, that means you are more worthy of doing well, of being successful. Okay, so what can you do about this? Because this is a super common pattern I see throughout a lot of the technical fields and even beyond that. So I have a couple resources I want to share. First up is a book called The Laziness Lie. It is really eye-opening and walks you through why, particularly if you were born and raised in the United States, we have this very individualistic, all you need to do is work harder and pull your up by your bootstraps culture. Where that comes from. The other practical thing you can do if you find yourself equating your productivity with your worth is to make a pointed effort to spend more time with people who value you as you not just what you can create, how much money you can make for them, or what you can do for someone else. The second lie that keeps you stuck in analysis paralysis is serial planning. I love a good plan as much as anyone else. But if you've ever developed a very detailed plan that you've never executed, you know exactly what I'm talking about, where you're getting stuck in this cycle of plan, 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 and not actually doing the really uncomfortable thing it often takes to get the plan going, executed, and finished. Why do we do this? So for me, I've often used continuous planning to mask fears about uncertainty of the future or failure. It's much more comfortable for many of us to continue planning and not doing the uncomfortable thing that's required to execute our plan than it is to actually go and do it. Now, I've done this. Millions of people do this daily when they add something to their bucket list that they know is never going to get done. And so to escape this trap, I want to give you 2 tips. First off, give yourself a time limit to plan and accept the fact that, especially if it's the first time doing something, that you don't know what you don't know and you'll have to make adjustments along the way. A perfect plan that's not executed at all is of much less worth to you than an imperfect plan that you actually did. So along those same lines, pick the first thing you can do on your list within the time frame you got. So let's say it's only 15 minutes. What can you do to move your plan forward? Moving it a little bit on a daily basis, even if it's just 15 minutes, is better than the illusion that you're making progress and continuing in this endless planning cycle, which is not going to get you anywhere. The third thing that's keeping you stuck in analysis paralysis is learning instead of executing. Now, there's a lot of information out there, and there's this saying that information is power, but that's simply not true. With the internet, there's more information out there than you could possibly absorb in a lifetime, and trying to take it all in is resulting in overwhelm and stress and anxiety. In fact, there's more of that going on than at any previous time in human history, even though all of this information is available right at our fingertips. There are so many different ways you could be learning, and there is an abundance of passive learning experiences available. But most of them are kind of like those college lectures where you sat and listened to someone talk at you for a topic. Let's be honest here. How much did you learn sitting in lectures or listening to someone talking at you? Not much, because that's not how humans are wired. We're wired for learning by doing. Now, some information is helpful, but if you don't put it into practice immediately, it just adds to that overwhelm in your head. So, what can you do about this? You can adopt a just-in-time learning philosophy where you learn what you need to do in order to proceed to the next step in whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Don't make the mistake that most people make, and that they learn for the sake of learning and don't immediately apply what they learn, which doesn't make it stick. And it contributes to this feeling of overwhelm and anxiety that you have all this information in your head, but you're stuck in analysis and paralysis and can't move forward. Information is not power. Execution is power. So don't fool yourself into thinking that just by learning it or passively watching a lecture that you've actually learned what it is that you need to know. So to recap, the 3 traps are equating your worth with productivity, serial planning, and learning instead of executing. I've done all 3 of these in the past. Let me know in the comments which one resonates most with you. Understanding the traps is important because if you're anything like me, you've often used these traps to rationalize why you can't go do what you want right now at work. Maybe it's advocating for yourself, or starting your own side hustle or business, or having that difficult conversation with your manager. Whatever it is for you, I want to share 4 questions that you can ask yourself next time you find yourself stuck in analysis paralysis to kickstart your next move. So the first question is, why am I stuck? Think about if this is really for a legitimate reason, or if you're using the lies of equating worth with productivity, serial planning, or that you just need to learn something else new as excuses to mask your fear of uncertainty or failure. And be honest with yourself. Most of the time, if you're trying to find a reason to wait to do what you really want to do, you've fallen into that rationalization trap, and you're using your logical mind to hide from fear of failure, uncertainty, or even what might people think of you. I know this from direct experience. Now, the good news is you can choose to get yourself unstuck, but it starts with being brutally honest with yourself about what actually is going on. The second question you can ask yourself is, what assumptions am I making about this situation that are keeping me from moving forward? And are those assumptions true? Question those assumptions. Do you have facts to support them? I'll give you an example of this in a minute. So the third prompt to use is, if I had 100% confidence in myself and my abilities, how would I show up in this situation? So put another way, if you were showing up intentionally as a leader, how would you act and what would you do in this situation? How would you take charge of it so that you could move it forward? Finally, the fourth prompt is, what is the one thing I can do in this moment to move me one step closer to showing up as I want in this situation? It's easy to feel like a victim of circumstances. It's easy to see a gigantic goal as sometime in the distant future that you're not moving towards right now. It's much harder to look at a less than ideal reality head on and decide that you are not going to let it get you down and that you're going to do something about it. There is always something you can do, even if that's deciding to let it go in the moment. The key here is to mindfully make the decision so you are empowering yourself with that decision instead of feeling like you're just reacting to the circumstances you're in. So let's take two different scenarios as examples. In scenario one, you want a promotion. So as you're thinking about how to go get the promotion, and this is a promotion maybe you've wanted for years, but yet you haven't gotten. So how can we use our 4 prompts to help you get unstuck and get you a step closer to getting exactly what you want and staying out of analysis paralysis of this cycle of just working harder and not getting the promotion that you deserve? So the first question is, why am I stuck? So maybe you don't think you'll get a promotion or raise because your manager doesn't appreciate you and you think you need to work harder. This is falling into trap 1, equating productivity with your worth. But you recognize it for what it is, so you're ready to move on to the second prompt. What assumptions am I making about this situation that are keeping me from moving forward, and are they true? So after reflection, you might think to yourself that your manager knows you want a promotion. But then you think about any data you have about getting this promotion and realize that you've never explicitly said you're looking for a promotion in a leadership position in your company. Another common assumption that's made about a situation like this is the thought that you need to work harder. Maybe it shows up in the form of you think you need more experience or another credential or to work on a particular type of project. Question those assumptions. Look around for data that would support, is everyone in the position I want holding this credential or experience? Or is this a story I am telling myself, which is in fact not true? Often the better question here is to ask, how can I make the good work I'm already doing more visible to the people who would be able to give me a promotion? Moving on to our third prompt in this scenario. If I had 100% confidence in myself and my abilities, how would I show up in this situation? If you were truly confident in your abilities and that you would get the promotion if you asked for it, very likely the very first thing you would do is go ask for that promotion. You wouldn't wait for your manager to tell you you've done well. You'd make it very clear that this is what you want, and you would craft a plan with your manager so that you knew all the parameters, the things you need to do in order to get that promotion. Finally, using the last prompt for this scenario, What is one thing I can do in this moment to move me one step closer to showing up as I want in the situation? Now, this is a super key question to resolve analysis paralysis because you're not just thinking and reflecting on how you resolve this scenario, you're moving it forward. So one thing you could do in this situation is you could email your manager right now, which will take less than 5 minutes, and ask for a meeting to discuss your professional development. So let me give you a second example. In this scenario, someone made a sexist or racist comment to you at work. So first, why are you stuck? You're frustrated that this comment was made, and you're upset about it and don't want it to happen again. Yet, in the moment, you froze up, and so now you feel like there is nothing you can do about this situation. What assumptions am I making about this situation that are keeping me from moving forward, and are they true? You can see 2 examples of possible assumptions you might make. Assumption 1, your coworker meant to hurt you and is a bad person. Assumption 2, you froze up and you didn't respond in the moment, so now you think you have to live with it. Question those assumptions. Ask yourself, what data or other situations do I have that would back up my assumption? Or are these assumptions false? There's always something you can do to move forward. You just have to access your inner leader to do it. Which brings us to the third prompt. If I had 100% confidence in myself and my abilities, how would I show up in this situation? You would professionally and calmly approach the coworker about it and tell them that this was hurtful and ask that they refrain from making those comments in the future. Moving to the fourth prompt, what is the one thing I can do in this moment to move me one step closer to showing up as I want in this situation? You can email your coworker and ask for a quick private chat. So that's it for how you overcome analysis paralysis. These are the 3 things keeping you stuck, and these are the 4 questions to ask yourself to get unstuck. Now, before you go, don't forget to grab your free copy of my book, She Engineers. You can see the link right below this video. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to learn more practical strategies, tips, and tools to find your voice, engineer a career on your terms, and make your mark on the world, make sure to subscribe to my channel.